good to have you along this afternoon. So yes, Kāinga Ora, New Zealand's largest state housing provider, has faced criticism for excluding wool carpets from its flooring tender, opting instead for synthetic alternatives due to their lower cost and, they say, better durability. Yes, the move has disappointed industry leaders, including Wools of New Zealand and Bremworth, who argue that wool offers important environmental and health benefits such as being non-flammable and biodegradable. Critics also contend that this decision undermines the government's commitment to supporting local wool producers. Wool carpet manufacturers are calling for a more inclusive procurement process that would allow them to compete fairly with synthetic options. Bremworth Chief Executive is Greg Smith, and he joins me now. Greg, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Look, thank you for your time, Greg. And before we get into Kāinga Ora's decision, I've touched a little bit on it in the intro, but tell us the benefits of wool carpet over synthetic options.
Well, I suppose firstly, and most importantly, it's a natural fibre. And I think that's something that's really important when you consider that it's farmed locally. And at the moment, growers are not getting enough for their wool. So that's a social and an economic realisation. But then you've got the annually renewable piece. So we don't have to go mining for subterranean carbon to get this product. This fibre comes and is annually renewable. You touched on the biodegradability, but other things which are really important in a home environment are, how it regulates temperature, that is naturally stain resistant without the use of chemicals. It is naturally, obviously, biodegradable, and that's important when it comes to waste, because at the end of the day, the synthetic product doesn't break down. It just goes into landfill and stays for hundreds of years.
I read somewhere, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that some nylon is recycled and can be endlessly recyclable. Is that not done with carpets, nylon carpets? Do you know?
I think it's really done. I don't have the statistics to speak with authority on that, but it's certainly not part of the criteria, I believe, in this case.
Probably they rip them up and throw them out. Probably, yeah. Look, you've said that this decision by Kāinga Ora to exclude wool carpet from state homes in favour of synthetic has set a damaging precedent. Can you explain, Greg?
Well, yeah, I can, because at the end of the day, you've got Kiwis who are, in these homes, which, they're some of the part of the vulnerable, I suppose, population, shall we say, and why shouldn't they have the benefit of a natural fibre in their home, which is healthier for them and has all the qualities that I talked about earlier? And yet, we're able to put this product into other government departments or homes. There's no reason why Kāinga Ora couldn't use it. Now, I understand the cost issue. I think that's a really important piece to pick up, because
yes. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, look, they would obviously say, look, what do you want us to do? We're trying to look after taxpayer dollars.
Yep.
And they've had a lot of scrutiny. So I can fully understand that they're in that position, and we're not sort of asked for a handout here. And what we're saying is, let us have the opportunity to put in a price. And so, previously they've done that, and strangely this time, which we're baffled about, they didn't.
Oh, I see. So you weren't even allowed to tender, Greg?
No,
at all.
Right.
They'd made their decision, right?
Yeah. And so with that in mind, just lastly on that piece that you were saying about it being damaging, what does this tell the wool industry and those hardworking Kiwi farmers and all the people that is working on the farm, to the shearing gangs, the rousies, the vets, all the people that are supported by the wool industry? What does it tell them if our own government agencies, who have the largest building development in the country, builds more houses than anyone else, is saying, we don't want to use your product?
I don't know, Greg. Yeah, I suppose you could see it that way. I'm not defending Kāinga Ora at all, but I'm, like you said, you've highlighted the fact that, nylon carpets were 34% cheaper than wool. And the fact that last year Kāinga Ora has ballooned out from 2.7 to 12 billion in debt, and the government has told them to pull in the reins. So they are kind of between a rock and a hard place, or in this case, wool and nylon. And just going back to what you said about, why can't, KO houses have nice carpets? Hey, look, I get that as well, but it would be fair to say, and I don't think I'm being rude here, but Kāinga Ora houses get a lot of wear and tear. They're not high-end houses in leafy suburbs. So do you think that a synthetic carpet is more ideal in this? They're hard wearing, they kind of going to fit with who's going in them?
Well, look, it depends on the product they end up choosing, but if it's the product they've chosen previously and they've talked to being cheaper and really durable, sure, that product has a very thin pile. It's very hard to destruct it ultimately. So I can understand, why they would do that. But there's also a performance element to wool carpet that is quite unique. It's not laced with the same chemicals that synthetic products are, and I think there's some other costs involved when you've got a cheap product being compared to a wool product that needs to be taken into account as well. So, yeah, look, I understand that they're in a difficult position, and and we're the wool guys, so of course we're going to say we'd like to have had the chance to
I get it.
Participate, and they've got to try and balance the books. But generally, if there's a cheaper cost in one place, there's a price being paid somewhere else. And in this case, we're spending millions of dollars offshore to plastic manufacturers. All of this money could be kept in New Zealand. And so whilst there's money being saved on one hand, there's money being spent elsewhere. And the greater cost to the New Zealand farming community is something that should be in consideration as well. And it's not Kāinga Ora's job, but it's certainly the government's good job.
What would the contract have been worth, Greg, to the wool industry if they'd got to do flooring for 70,000 homes? Do you know? Would it effectively transform the wool sector?
$30 million.
Yeah.
I imagine it's tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about transformation, it's quite a bold term. But what I mean by that is, if New Zealand, our biggest landlord, is soaking up a lot of wool and wool products, then there's less wool available on the international market. If there's less wool available on the international market, then the price of wool will go up. And we know that farmers have been doing it tough. And, from that perspective, they can start getting more money for their wool. Then you are, I suppose, supporting that community. And they're not after handouts. There's no Kiwi farmer looking for a handout. They haven't had them for decades. But what they are looking for is recognition that this is a truly worthwhile fibre to continue farming with. And if we have these farming communities, if they stop farming for wool, then there is a significant amount more of people that are going to need Kāinga Ora housing.